My name is Yixuan Pan. I am an assistant professor at SIAS. I am an artist. If you ask me what kind of artist I am, I would say, through images and sound, I like to work with people. My founder's Endowment awarded project is a music video for a song I created titled Ice Cold. This is part of this concept album on hot glass. Has the same title as the song, Ice Cold. I actually started this project 7 years ago, drawing inspiration from the captivating environment of the glass hot shop. Immersed in the dynamic process of glassmaking, I discreetly captured snippets of conversation between the glass blowers and then repurposed them into the lyrics for this song, Ice Cold. Thinking about the glass hot shop being hot, both in the literal sense and metaphorically, it's central and filled with passion. In crafting the accompanying music video, I envision a visual narrative that transcends mere aesthetics. It will serve as a powerful commentary on the pervasive misogyny within the glass art industry, aiming to empower BIPOC women and emerging glass artists within the community. In the past year, I have been working on various aspects of this project. Here's some in progress. About 2 weeks ago, I finally filmed the music video with a team of 10 talented artists. As I'm working on post-production with my collaborator, Megan Clark, I'm very excited to share a glimpse of this creative process with you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Julia Dancis. I'm an assistant professor within the Social, Behavioral, and Human Sciences Division here at UW-T. And I'm so excited to just share a little snippet about the research, the action research work that I've been doing thanks to the Funders Endowment Grant. So my project is about supporting queer affirming sex education in local public schools. And the work that I have been doing, along with my amazing research assistants and my collaborators within a local school district, has been to identify what are some of the issues related to implementing sex education that is not only comprehensive, but is also affirming for queer identities, things that we know that are happening right now. um, there have been hundreds of state legislatures passing bills that are anti-trans, anti-queer, and we know that education can be an antidote to some of these political issues that we're seeing across the country. And so for me, it's been incredibly important to say, how can we work with our local communities to support the identities of queer kids who then go on to understand themselves better, who then go on to have higher academic achievement, lower truancy, go on to become researchers, politicians, community members, community organizers, et cetera, to do the really important work of protecting trans and other queer people's lives and in our larger community. And so that's why, to me, sex education is where it's at. And so, in order to understand how to make sex ed more queer affirming, I first wanted to start off with talking to teachers who are actually in the classroom with students and understanding some of their barriers as well as some of their strengths. And so first we sent out a survey to understand all of those ideas. And then the second part, right now we are finishing data analysis on that survey with local teachers who teach sex ed. And we're going to use that information to inform focus groups. So this whole project is a mixed method study, which is going to result in creating resources that are catered to the specific needs of these teachers here. So we're working with administrators and we're also working with teachers to come up with teacher accessible physical resources, professional development resources, time and money resources to support them. And thank you to the Funders Endowment Grant, we've been able to pay participants for their participation, pay undergraduate students for future transcription work, as well as pay liaisons to help us build capacity amongst our community. More to share, but you'll have to find me, and we'll talk shop. Take care.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Duverich Woodside. Thanks to the Office of Research in the RAC for your support of this project, Latine, Latinx Legacies in Tacoma and the South Sound. This project aimed to explore existing archives and, in collaboration with the Tacoma Public Library Community Archive Center, bring community members and organizations together to co-create community archives, celebrating diverse histories and experiences, namely of our local Latina communities. We built upon initial work by the Community Archive Center to preserve and provide access to stories that are typically missing from the local history narrative. Though my project is very broad and ambitious in scope, this initial phase focused on combating the erasure of Latina contributions to our local region by recuperating, documenting, and elevating voices of local Latina communities, and specifically documenting grassroots organizing in the 90s, culminating in the creation of resources like Centro Latino, today's Mi Centro, and other resources, as well as the activism and organizing that resulted from the establishment of the Immigrant Detention Center in the early 2000s in the Tide Flats. Thanks to this award, I was able to hire and work with an undergraduate research assistant, the fabulous Perla Vasquez. And one of the gems that we discovered in our archival search is to the right of your screen, a 1943 Tacoma Times article about a knife battle, quote, in the old American hotel at Ruston, barracks for Mexican workers, smelter crew. We specifically looked for terms relating to the different Latina communities or organizations. Here, there are some examples of newspaper references to Centro Latino. We also looked through government documents like city council minutes, environmental impact reports, etc. The other primary facet of this project is conducting oral history interviews, specifically with Latina individuals who are uniquely positioned to offer their insights and experiences and individual and collective histories. Two such individuals are Dr. Bernal Vaca and Liesl Sancayo. So what's next? We're continuing to explore and analyze archives and are conducting additional oral history interviews, and we'll be publishing the audio recordings, written transcripts, and ephemera digitally through the Tacoma Public Library Community Archive Center and our UW Tacoma Library using a format similar to what you see on the screen now. I'll also be working with the staff to facilitate the use of these resources and encourage our UW community and local K-12 educators and their students to contribute to this as well. Also, we'll be expanding these efforts to a broader team of UW undergrads, thanks to a National Endowment for the Humanities grant, which will provide paid opportunities for a cohort of 12 first-gen and economically marginalized students to continue to expand this high-impact work, looking not just at Latina communities, but other ethnic and cultural communities as well. Thank you again to the Office of Research for all of your help.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Gardell. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences, and I'm here on behalf of my team talking about a collaborative research project. So the other two faculty are Dr. Sarah Leahy, who's an assistant professor in SIS, and Dr. Jim Gall, who is an associate professor within SIS.
The title of our project is characterizing the impacts of arsenic contamination on freshwater lake microbiomes. You might recognize the image here. It is the former Asarco smelter that operated for over 100 years in Ruston. So this smelter contributed to arsenic contamination that we see in the Puget Sound lowland region. Within this region, there are many freshwater lakes that are impacted by the arsenic contamination. Given that arsenic is both a neurotoxicant and a carcinogen, we have many questions about ecosystem health within these lakes. Our central hypothesis is that legacy arsenic contamination is a selective pressure that shapes environmental microbiomes within lakes. So a microbiome is a collection of microbial species. We're primarily focusing on the bacterial species. Within lakes, we're interested in microbiomes within different environmental compartments, including water, sediment, slime, which we call periphyton, and the guts of invertebrates like snails, if those microbiomes are distinct and how they vary compared to each other. For this study, we have 3 main lakes that represent a gradient of arsenic contamination. We're using snails as indicator species of lake ecosystem health, focusing on the Chinese mystery snail, which is found in all of our study lakes. They are primary consumers, so they're found closer to the bottom of the food chain. They're important for this study because they accumulate arsenic at higher levels in their tissues relative to species that we find at higher trophic levels. These snails are also harvested for human consumption, so there is a connection to human health. And within their guts, we're interested in characterizing the species of bacteria within the gut because those species are important for digestive processes, but also modulate other physiological processes within the host. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to dive into the data at this point, but we are around. We have a couple of posters and are happy to chat with folks following this presentation about data from our recent studies. One story I want to share that really resonated for this project is how impactful bringing together diverse faculty for a shared project has been at a primarily undergraduate institution. So we have a limnologist, a microbiologist, and an ecotoxicologist all working together on this arsenic lakes microbiome study. It's been a really rewarding experience. Given we are working mostly with undergraduate students, it's been nice to have the shared leadership with 3 faculty. And it's provided a lot of cross-training opportunities for students and faculty alike. We'd like to see more of this model at UW Tacoma, and we feel like it's a great way to make research sustainable and impactful for our campus and our students in particular. We've even done things like collaborated on teaching and curriculum design, which has been really rewarding as well. I'd like to thank the team that was involved in generating data and working on this important project, and thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Wei-Chao Yuwen. I'm an associate professor at the School of Nursing and Healthcare Leadership. I use she, her pronouns. I am a nurse by training, and my research has focused on using technology to support people with chronic health conditions and their families, especially those from marginalized communities. About 2 years ago, Dr. Martin D. Cook, Dr. Anderson Nascimento from the School of Engineering and Technology, and I connected because of our shared interest in using technology to promote health and health equity. Since then, we started working together, looking at existing data and applying for funding to support that collaboration. The Founders Endowment Fund was one of the first that we received. The project was titled Advancing Health Equity Through Reducing Bias and Promoting Fair Machine Learning Algorithms. We proposed to establish an interdisciplinary research partnership between the two schools to develop techniques that detect and prevent algorithmic discrimination in machine learning systems using symptom management for patients with chronic diseases. We were very grateful for the funding that supported students from both computer science and nursing to contribute to the work that we're doing. And subsequently, we were able to obtain funding from the National Institute of Health, Artificial Intelligence, and Machine Learning Consortium to advance health equity and research diversity, or EMMA-HEAD program, to officially establish a lab at UW-T. We call it Responsible Health AI Lab, or RAIL. In this past year, we've submitted and received several grants from local and national funders, such as the Population Health Initiative, the National Institute of Health, and National Science Foundation, and supported undergraduate and graduate students from both disciplines to work on projects in RAIL that interest them. We are very excited and motivated to continue this collaboration, and we invite folks who are interested in responsible use of AI in health joining us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jihyun An. I am an associate professor of communication in the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Science. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my current research project with you all, especially as one of the recipients of the Founders Endowment Award. My sincere gratitude to the Office of Research and the Review Committee for their generous support on my research. The project that I would like to talk about today is actually about my second book project, and it's currently titled Selling Aversion, Anti-Korean Sentiment, and New Nationalism in Post-Colonial East Asia. Let me briefly talk about how I become interested in this topic. I define myself as a global media studies scholar whose research is focused on racial politics in Korean media and East Asian pop culture. My first book was about mixed race representation and how Korean multiculturalism functioned as a national racial project in contemporary South Korean media. While I was finishing up my first book publication, I was intrigued by the heightened geopolitical tension and the rise of online hate culture in East Asia, especially in the midst of ever-increasing global popularity of Korean pop culture, also known as Korean Wave. Specifically, China, Japan, and Taiwan, those countries were considered as one of the biggest markets for Korean media for a long time, and they played a central role in the spread of Korean pop culture in the region. However, they are also becoming home to emerging anti-Korean sentiment and the movement in the past couple of decades. What is more, even beyond the Northeast Asian countries, anti-Korean sentiment is also quickly growing in Southeast Asia, including Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, and the Philippines. So anti-Korean sentiment has already become a transnational phenomenon that reshapes cultural politics in the region. So I wanted to study what drives the rise of anti-Korean sentiment and how this nationalizing and simultaneously racializing sentiment renews our understanding of the relationship between the global cultural flows and regional politics. As I said in this project, I take the transnational approach to the formation of anti-Koreanism in the region and explore how it dismantles and recreates racialized cultural imagination in East Asia. I'm still in the process, and I really hope that I can finish it as a monograph in the near future. Thanks for your listening.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alireza Buluri. I'm an assistant professor of business analytics at Milgard School of Business. I would like to thank the UW-T Office of Research and the Founders Endowment Committee for this award. It's been very instrumental in my establishing and developing my line of research. So the research project for which I was awarded, the title was Leveraging Patients' Claims Data to Unpack Insights for Combating the Opioid Prescription and a Pain Epidemic. As far as the fit Of course, the primary part of my research is in healthcare analytics, operations, and policy, and I typically work with observational data, patients data, claims data, and the goal of this project was to develop a clinical decision support system to help providers and practitioners and physicians in managing pain treatments. And of course, that is achievable through developing an evidence-based, analytical-based framework by using machine learning algorithms, which I did in this project. So the story of this project obviously was to, as I kind of alluded to, was to somehow demonstrate a proof of concept for this decision support system. And more importantly, at the core of it was to lay a foundation for human algorithm interaction. Human would be the provider side, algorithm would be the machine learning side, with a particular application in managing treatments. And obviously the motivation was I'm assuming that everybody is aware of that in the US, the opioid prescription and abuse epidemic, and the fact that tens of thousands, if not millions of people in the US are dealing with, or at least are in danger of opioid-related disorders like abuse, overdose, dependence, poisoning, etc. And at the same time, those people that are on the other side of the aisle, that are in dire pain conditions who would need these medications, like opioid treatments, other types of pain treatments, to deal with their conditions. So I would like to wrap up this short video by, again, for another time, once more having my gratitude and appreciation, a big thank you for the founders Endowment and also Office of Research, because their support has allowed me to continue having access to this data, and through which not only I have basically wrapped up my research, which I just talked about, but I also was able to establish 5 new lines of research. I'm just naming them. I would like to use this opportunity to kind of showcase them. The use of medication-assisted treatments for patients who are suffering from opioid-related disorders. The issue of cannabis legalization of recreational use of cannabis across different states. The impact of telehealth utilization, in particular their modality, on a variety of outcomes like hospital readmission. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic on onset of mental health disorders, and finally cancer treatments. Without this support, and found me being able to establish and develop these new lines of research would not have been possible. I certainly appreciate that, and thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Grote-Carmona, and I am an assistant professor in the Sciences and Mathematics Division in the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences here at UW Tacoma. And I want to tell you a little bit about my research project that was funded through the Founders Endowment Award last year, entitled Discerning the Catalytic Function of the Alpha-Beta Hydrolase Domain of the Plasmodium BEM46-like Protein, or PBLP. And so, as the title suggests, this work is about understanding the activity of an enzyme, PBLP, and its role in conferring infectivity to the malaria parasite that cycles between the Anopheles mosquito vector and the human host, causing the disease we know as malaria. Now, the clinical symptoms of malaria, which is the most deadly parasitic disease worldwide, are all associated with replication of the parasite in the blood. The remaining stages of the life cycle are asymptomatic, despite the fact that they are major bottlenecks within the life cycle because they are major amplification events in the parasite number during its time developing in these stages. Now, during development, this parasite undergoes massive changes morphologically as well as in gene expression. And we are interested in understanding how the development of the infectious stages, in particular, are regulated by this enzyme that we know as PBLP. Now, PBLP was previously characterized and understood to be involved in conferring infectivity, but it is currently unclear how this enzyme functions in the life cycle, and its substrate in all of these different life cycle stages remains unknown. Now, unfortunately, I don't have time to go through all of the data that we have accumulated, but we have since learned a lot about the chemical structure of this enzyme through use of bioinformatics software. We've also been able to identify its putative active site, or where in the enzyme it actually is able to confer this infectivity, where its main activity takes place. And we've been able to, with the help of many different students, engineer point mutations into these active site residues so that they are no longer going to be able to carry out the enzymatic function of the enzyme. And so we've also been able to, thanks to the Founders Award, engineer not just single mutations in the active site, but a triple mutant that has no activity because the entire active site has been essentially made non-functional. And so we've not only been able to work with faculty here at UW Tacoma to develop new ways of mutagenizing this enzyme in introducing these mutations into a plasmid using megawatt PCR mutagenesis, but we've also been able to actually put this plasmid into E. coli and start troubleshooting the expression conditions necessary to produce this protein in vitro so that we can characterize its function and determine a more accurate crystal structure with the use of another collaborator at Western Washington University. And so the thing I want to point out with this project is that it has been in development for a number of years. And so there's been a lot of students that have cycled through my lab doing capstone projects, trying to develop this mutant panel and start getting at how to express this protein in vitro. And so with that, I do want to point out that now that we are in the position to actually start producing these proteins and understand their catalytic function, we can start designing interventions for this enzyme to stop its activity and prevent it from conferring infectivity. And so with that, I just want to say thank you to all of our collaborators, as well as the UW Founders Endowment Award, for allowing us to do this work and helping us in this project. Big shout out to the students who are currently working on this project, Krista Janis and Thamsiri Sirung, as well as past members of the lab who have also worked on this project over the years. And so I am around if you have any questions, but otherwise, thank you so much for this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the molecular pathogenesis of this very deadly parasitic disease.
Hello, my name is Julie Masura, and I'm a teaching professor in the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences. The title of this project is International Partnerships Understanding Climate, Ecologic, and Oceanographic Changes within the Clackowitz Sound Biosphere Reserve. Clackowitz Sound is a remote estuary on the west coast of Vancouver Island. It is in a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, only one of 18 in Canada. The worldwide network has a global mission of ensuring access to ecosystem services and promoting sustainable development for people, economies, and the environment through the engagement of surrounding local communities. The PIs for this project, Dr. Cheryl Greengrove and I, have been leading research team to Clackowitz Sound since the year 2000. This is the only consistent marine data set in Clackowitz Sound and the longest time series of estuarine data on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Long-term data sets of environmental conditions are essential for assessing the impact of climate change on ecosystems over time, such as oxygen availability and phytoplankton diversity trends. This valuable ongoing study provides opportunities for undergraduates to participate in real-world, hands-on research and often serves as a student's capstone project. Many students who have participated in this opportunity are sought after post-graduation during the experiences they gained working on this project. The monitoring of environmental uses boat-based sampling techniques to include continuously reading instrumentation to gather water properties of temperature, salinity, fluorescence, turbidity, and dissolved oxygen. These data points are compared to whole water samples to ensure accuracy. Additional properties measured are phytoplankton types and quantities, as well as the presence and concentration of microplastic pollution. This information is shared with local stakeholders as well as used to compare with conditions here in Puget Sound in the Puget Sound region of the Salish Sea. This study began as a partnership with the University of Washington's Oceanography Department and has since led to additional partnerships to include the Clackasphere Biospheres Trust, the Raincoast Society, and the Hakai Institute. University of Washington students use this opportunity to participate in real-world research. The global impacts of these long-term data sets are essential for assessing the impact of climate change. In 2014, we captured the intrusion of a warm water blob offshore and were able to document how the water properties and phytoplankton changed in Clackawatt Sound. We again captured another blob in 2019. Warmer waters and associated estuarine changes impact the fishing, aquaculture, and tourism, and is a really important, which are important economic drivers for this area. The results are shared with our local community through education and outreach events in partnership with the two local nonprofits, the Raincoast Education Society and the Clackasphere Biosphere Trust. We've also been giving lectures and engaging the local Ahosit First Nation and Tofino students in hands-on oceanographic sampling. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to sharing this project with others now and in the future.